The $5 million paper shredder, I sat on the cold floor of my grandmother's living room, surrounded by the confetti of my future. My sister was laughing. My mother was holding the scissors. And the $5 million check Grandma had handed me on her deathbed? It was now just a pile of worthless, jagged scraps. "You don't deserve a cent, Chloe," my mother spat, kicking a piece of the torn paper toward me. "If we don't get the money, neither do you." They thought they had won. They thought they had erased my inheritance. But they forgot one thing. Grandma always had a backup plan. And the phone call I received the next morning from the bank manager was about to turn their victory into a living nightmare. The girl who was invisible. I grew up as the disappointment in a family of high achievers. My mother, Elena, was a socialite who lived for appearances. My older sister, Bianca, was her golden child, a cruel, beautiful girl who learned early on that she could step on me to reach higher. Then there was me, Chloe, the one who stayed behind to nurse Grandma Evelyn while the rest of them were in Aspen or Saint-Tropez. For 3 years, I was the one changing bandages, managing medications, and listening to Grandma's stories about the empire she and Grandpa built from nothing. The rest of the family only showed up when the doctors mentioned the word hospice. They circled the house like vultures, eyeing the Victorian paintings and the antique silver. They didn't care about the woman in the bed. They cared about the decimal points in her ledger. 2 days before she passed, Grandma squeezed my hand. Her eyes were sharp, clearer than they'd been in months. "They think I'm a fool, Chloe," she whispered. "They think I don't see them counting my coins. But I've seen you too. You're the only one with a soul left in this house." She reached under her pillow and pulled out a check. It was already filled out. $5 million. "Take this. Don't tell them. Go to the bank the moment I'm gone." I cried. Not because of the money, but because someone finally saw me. But I was sloppy. I was emotional. I didn't see Bianca standing in the shadow of the doorway. The night after the funeral, the vultures descended. We were in the drawing room for the reading of the will. To their absolute horror, Grandma had left the house and the liquid assets to a local charity for underprivileged girls. "This is a mistake!" Bianca screamed, throwing a crystal vase against the wall. "She was senile! She didn't know what she was doing!" "Actually," I said, my voice trembling but certain, "she knew exactly what she was doing. She gave me my share early." The room went silent. I shouldn't have said it. I know that now. But I wanted, just once, to feel like I wasn't the poor little servant girl they treated me as. I pulled the check from my pocket. I just wanted to show them that I was loved. The reaction was feral. My mother didn't hesitate. She lunged at me, her manicured nails scratching my cheek. As I fell back in shock, Bianca snatched the check from my hand. $5 million? Bianca's voice went up an octave. "She gave you $5 million? Give it back," I pleaded, reaching out. My mother grabbed my arms, pinning me against the chair. "You manipulated a dying woman, Chloe. You're a thief." Then, with a sickening grin, Bianca pulled a pair of heavy craft scissors from the side table. Snip, snip, snip. I watched in slow motion as the check, my ticket to a life away from their abuse, was reduced to dust. They laughed as they threw the pieces over my head. "Go ahead," my mother sneered. "Take it to the bank. See what they can do with a puzzle." They left me there, sobbing on the rug, surrounded by the ruins of Grandma's last gift. I felt smaller than I ever had. I felt erased. I didn't sleep. I spent the night trying to tape the pieces together, but they had been too thorough. Some pieces were missing. Others were shredded into fibers. I was a broken person in a broken room. At 8:05 a.m., my phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Hello?" I croaked. "Is this Miss Chloe Sterling?" A man's voice, professional and calm. "This is Mr. Henderson, the private wealth manager at Grand National. I was a close personal friend of your grandmother, Evelyn." "Mr. Henderson," I sobbed. "I'm so sorry, The check. They destroyed it. My family destroyed it." There was a long pause on the other end. "Miss Sterling, I think you should come down to the bank. Alone. And please, bring whatever remains of that check you have." "Why? It's useless, isn't it?" Mr. Henderson's voice dropped an octave. Your grandmother was a very thorough woman, Chloe. She expected this might happen. In fact, she banked on it. The transformation, the silent ghost. I walked into the bank an hour later, my eyes swollen, wearing an old hoodie. I looked like a ghost. Mr. Henderson met me in a private suite. He looked at the bag of shredded paper I placed on his mahogany desk and smiled sadly. They really are charming people, aren't they? He sighed. He didn't even look at the scraps. Instead, he opened a thick manila folder. Chloe, your grandmother visited me 3 weeks ago. She told me that if she gave you a check, your mother and sister would likely find a way to destroy it or take it from you. My heart stopped. She knew? She knew. That check wasn't the inheritance. That check was a test. He pulled out a document. This is the Evelyn Sterling Irrevocable Trust. The $5 million was just the beginning. The total value of the trust is closer to $40 million, including the offshore holdings and the patent royalties they don't even know exist. I gasped. $40 million? But there's a condition, Henderson said, leaning forward. To trigger the full transfer of the trust to you, you had to prove that the other heirs, your mother and sister, were unfit and acted with malice and intent to defraud. She told me if you came to me with a destroyed check, it would be the proof I needed. He pointed to a small camera in the corner of the room. And I've been recording this conversation, but we need more. We need them to admit what they did on record. A cold, hard flame ignited in my chest. For years, I had been the doormat. I had taken the insults, the hand-me-downs, the accidental slaps. What do I need to do? I asked. For the next month, you play the victim, Henderson said. You let them think you're broke. You let them think they won. And while they're celebrating their victory, we are going to dismantle their lives piece by piece. The first thing I learned, money is a weapon, but information is the ammunition. Grandma had left me a secondary key to a safe deposit box. Inside wasn't more money. It was a ledger. My grandmother had been the silent bookkeeper for my mother's charity foundations. It turned out my mother hadn't just been a socialite. She had been embezzling from her own galas to fund Bianca's failed fashion line and their gambling debts in Macau. They weren't just mean, they were criminals. I moved back into the house. I played the part of the grieving, penniless daughter. Oh, look, Bianca would sneer as I ate a bowl of cereal. The heiress is having flakes for dinner. Want me to shred the box for you? I would just look down and cry on cue. Inside, I was counting the days. I began my execution phase with surgical precision. Step 1. The debt trap. I knew Bianca was desperate to launch her vengeance clothing line. Through a shell company set up by Mr. Henderson, I offered her an angel investment of $2 million. The catch? The loan was secured against her only asset, her future share of the family estate, which didn't exist, and my mother's house. She signed the papers without reading the fine print. She was so arrogant, she thought she was tricking the investor. My mother was planning the Sterling Memorial Gala. She expected to use the donations to cover her $500,000 shortfall in the foundation's accounts. I helped her. I volunteered to handle the digital slideshow and the donations portal. I made sure every influential person in the city was invited. The execution. The Gala of Truth. The night of the gala was glittering. My mother wore a $20,000 gown she couldn't afford. Bianca was draped in diamonds, bragging about her secret investor. I stood in the back in a simple black dress, holding a tablet. Ladies and gentlemen, my mother announced, standing on the stage. Tonight, we honor my late mother, Evelyn. She taught us about integrity, about family, and about giving back. That was my cue. Instead of the tribute video of Grandma, the giant LED screens behind my mother flickered to life with something else. It was a recording. The audio was crystal clear. It was the night they tore up the check. I had hidden a voice recorder in my pocket that night, anticipating their cruelty. You don't deserve a cent, Chloe. My mother's voice boomed through the speakers. If we don't get the money, neither do you. The image on the screen changed to a high-definition photo of the shredded check on the rug. The crowd gasped. The socialites froze with champagne glasses halfway to their lips. "What is this?" my mother shrieked, turning around. "Turn it off." But I wasn't done. The screen flickered again. This time it showed the bank statements, the embezzled funds, the transfers from the Children's Heart Fund to Bianca's Paris shopping trip. The room went deathly silent. I walked slowly down the center aisle, the crowd parting for me like the Red Sea. I climbed the steps to the stage. My mother looked at me with pure, unadulterated hatred. She lunged at me, right there in front of everyone. "You little brat! I'll kill you!" She didn't get the chance. Two plainclothes officers, who Mr. Henderson had tipped off regarding the financial fraud, stepped out from the wings. "Elena Sterling, you're under arrest for grand larceny and wire fraud." As my mother was being led away in handcuffs, screaming that I had framed her, Bianca tried to run. She was intercepted by Mr. Henderson. "Miss Sterling," he said calmly, "about that $2 million loan. Since your mother's assets have been frozen due to the criminal investigation, the acceleration clause has been triggered. You are now personally liable for the full amount. And since you can't pay, the house is mine." I finished for him. Bianca turned to me, her face pale. "You can't do this. We're sisters. You have the $5 million. Just pay it off." I smiled. It was a cold, beautiful feeling. "Oh, Bianca, I don't have $5 million. She smirked, even through her terror. I knew it. That check was fake. "No," I said. "I don't have $5 million. I have $40 million. And you have nothing." But then, the second twist hit. The second twist, Grandma's final lesson. Mr. Henderson stepped forward and handed me a final letter from Grandma. "Chloe," it read, "if you are reading this, you have successfully taken back what was stolen. You have shown the strength I knew you had. But I have one more secret for you." I looked at Henderson. He nodded toward the back of the room. A man walked in. He looked exactly like my father, who was supposed to have died in a car accident 20 years ago. "Dad?" I whispered. The man shook his head. "No, Chloe. I'm Evelyn's lawyer from London. Your father didn't die in an accident. Your mother drove him away and paid him to disappear because he found out about her first embezzlement scheme. But he didn't stay away. He's been watching over you for 20 years. He was the security guard at your high school. He was the gardener who checked on you." The man smiled, and I recognized those eyes. The gardener who used to give me an apple every day when I was crying in the backyard. "Your grandmother used the $5 million check as a trap for them," the man said. "But she also used it to see if you would use your power for revenge, or for justice. By involving the police and the bank, instead of just stealing the money back, you chose justice. My mother is currently serving 7 years for financial fraud. Her friends disappeared the moment the handcuffs clicked. Bianca, she's working at a dry cleaner's in the suburbs. I bought the building. I don't go in. I just like knowing that every day she has to sweat over other people's expensive clothes, knowing she'll never wear them again. I sold the family mansion and turned it into a massive shelter and education center for women escaping domestic and financial abuse. I named it Evelyn's House. Every morning, I wake up in a small, sunlit apartment by the ocean. I don't need the $40 million to be happy, but it certainly helps in making sure the right people get what they deserve. I still keep one thing on my mantle, framed in gold. It's a single, jagged scrap of paper from that $5 million check. It's the piece that had my name on it. Whenever I feel like that small, invisible girl again, I look at it and remember. My family thought they were shredding my future, but they were actually just cutting the strings they used to pew.